Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be testing out my newly maxed level 50 Blacephalon in the Open Master League for the very first time. Now, this was a long process, a lot of hours in-person raiding over the course of several days, but I was able to get the 296 XLs needed to max it out. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a hundo. The best I got was a 15, 12, 15, so that's what I built. Blacephalon in the Master League, its attack stat is nearly double that of its HP and defense, so it's definitely more of a meme Pokemon, but against all odds and with good teammates, I was able to go on a 10-2 run with it above expert rank. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Tough lead in the first match, leading Palkia into Dialga. I safe switch into Zacian, and my opponent is going to respond with Landorus. The goal of the Zacian safe switch is going to be to try and bait out a potential Landorus or a Kyogre if they're in the back, as of course both of those would absolutely destroy the Blacephalon in the back. Opponent commits the shield on the Play Rough, which works out very, very nicely for me. And I'm going to be able to fire off a second Play Rough as they massively overfarm. The Play Rough will connect, dealing some very nice damage, and now this is going to set up a very nice farm down for the Palkia. The unfortunate thing is that my opponent, they still have a ton of HP left on the Dialga, and Blacephalon is so glassy that I'm just going to get Dragon Breath down unless I get some damage off onto this Dialga. So even though I'm debuffed, when they bring in Dialga, I'm going to stay in here, and I'm going to go for the Spatial Rend. I'm debuffed, so they're probably not going to shield, but I need them to let this through. Spatial Rend connects, in comes Blacephalon. Blacephalon farming up, opponent is going to fire off the charge attack, and I need to shield everything. In the back, it's a Mewtwo, and I have a guaranteed win con. I can just go straight Shadow Ball. Do they respect it? They do not. The full one-shot onto the Mewtwo. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. The tough leads continue in the next match, Palkia versus Xerneas. I throw one Dragon Breath, safe switch into Zacian. Opponent sends in Ho-Oh, another Pokemon that is really good to bait out because Blacephalon would not do well there. I fire off the Wild Charge. They know they can survive it. They'll be able to outpace me here, but they don't throw their move. Instead, they're just going to 100 energy, and this actually allows me to force a shield. That's a misplay by my opponent, as they don't have to give up a shield advantage in this matchup, but by farming to 100, then just like that, I have a shield advantage, and that's exactly what I'm going to want for Blacephalon in the endgame. Brave Bird connects, massive damage to the Palkia. Palkia gets the farm down. When I see the Xerneas, I'm sending in Blacephalon. In comes Blacephalon. In the back, it's Lugia, and this might be winnable. I'm going straight for the Shadow Ball. Lugia, one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the Master League, and it still does massive damage. The attack stat on this Pokemon is insane. Opponent fires off the Sky Attack. I'm shielding everything. These Dragon Tails tearing through Blacephalon. Blacephalon does get the farm down. I'm just clicking the Mystical Fire right away, as this will get the guaranteed attack drop. Mystical Fire gets shielded. That means I'm one away from the Shadow Ball, and let's see this damage onto the Xerneas. Shadow Ball, massive damage, combo play into the Palkia, and we had a terrible lead, but we're still able to fight back, and the shield advantage Blacephalon, against all odds, able to take the win. Moving to the next match, Palkia versus Shadow Mewtwo. Shadow Mewtwo, definitely a very scary Pokemon to see. His neutral Side Strikes does incredible damage, and they're able to outpace in this matchup. I'm going to be firing off the Aqua Tail pretty close to when they make Side Strike number 2. There's still one Psycho Cut off. They're going to overfarm and go for another Side Strike. I know that I can survive this. Not super well, however. My opponent is going to snipe with their own Palkia, so very nicely done there by my opponent. I'm going to send in the Zacian. My opponent doesn't throw the Aqua Tail right away, which is interesting, so they might be predicting that I'm on Wild Charge Close Combat. But I really don't believe Close Combat is necessary on Zacian anymore, so I'm running what I believe to be the correct moveset, which is the Wild Charge and Play Rough. They can go for 2 Aqua Tails, but I can survive that damage. It is going to get me quite low. Palkia, even in these negative matchups, is still incredibly oppressive, but I'm going to be able to make the Play Rough, so I got the Palkia out of the way, and now again, it's where I'm trying to get Blacephalon into that shield advantage scenario. Now it is the 1-0s. What is going to be that final Pokemon? And it's Solgaleo. Solgaleo getting shredded by Incinerates. They're going for a Psychic Fang. This is actually going to do so much damage. A Psychic Fang has never done that much damage neutrally. Oh my goodness. In comes the Mewtwo. Mewtwo knocked out by the Mystical Fire. In comes Solgaleo. They don't want to get Shadow Balled, and they resign the match. Palkia versus Dialga, one Dragon Breath, and the safe switch into the Zacian. Opponents staying in this matchup, and they will fire off the Iron Head right before I make it to the Play Rough. I decide to commit the shield. I'm perfectly fine with potentially letting an Iron Head through, but I don't want to do so until I've landed a Play Rough myself, because landing a Play Rough means that I can potentially Dragon Breath down the Dialga later in the game. Play Rough, 8 to the first, 7 to the second, so even though I was behind on energy, I'm able to outpace there and force a shield, and now I'm just going to let this through. Iron Head won't quite KO, they're going to be able to get a farm down, which is a little unfortunate, but I can just send in my Palkia, and I should be able to get a farm down before they make the Roar of Time. They're unable to get the Roar of Time, which is massive. They're going to send in their own Palkia, and I'm firing off the Spatial Rend. Are they going to respect it? Spatial Rend gets shielded. I send in Blacephalon. Look at the Dragon Breath. Blacephalon getting torn to shreds. Oh no. I shield up the Aqua Tail in the back. It's Kyogre. You've got to be kidding me. Double water. Shadow Ball, massive damage, but this game is just over. There is just not a way to win it, unfortunately. I send in the Palkia. Opponent tries to get to Thunder, and they don't get there. Wait. Oh my goodness, the opponent, all they had to do was surf, and the game was lost, but they try and commit to a Thunder. They do not get there, and Palkia with 1 HP knocks out the opposing Palkia, and somehow we had no business winning that game, but we do get the win. Tough lead in the next match, leading Palkia into Xerneas, the Zacian save switch answered by Kyogre, and this is honestly pretty nice for me, as ideally, I need to bait out the water type. We saw last time, Shadow Ball can do a lot to a Kyogre, but it's not going to be enough to KO, and then afterwards, I'm just getting farmed down, and they leave with energy. So now I get to bait it out, force a shield, which is very nice, and then I'm just going to have to trust again in Blacephalon with a shield advantage. I send in the Palkia. This is only going to be the Surf. Surf, very, very okay. That's double resisted. We get a very nice farm down. They're going to send in the Xerneas. I send in Blacephalon. Oh, it's Palkia again. Oh, no. And look at the Dragon Breaths. Blacephalon, no. Shadow Ball, massive damage to the Palkia, but Palkia is going to get the farm down. My only win con is that for no reason at all, they bait here. If they bait and I farm down, I can win this, but they go for the Spatial Rend, but I'm happy with the no shield because I did at least commit to my win con. Palkia versus Dialga. Palkia not doing great on the lead, but we're still winning a lot of games, which is nice. I'm going to save switch into the Zacian. Zacian going for the Play Rough, and it's charge attack priority, Play Rough to the Iron Head. I'm fine with letting this go because this is charge attack priority, so I know that the Play Rough is going to force a shield or land onto the Dialga. Play Rough is going to be no shielded. Opponent sends in Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh going to look for the farm down, but not before I make the wild charge. Not the best timing, but in that instance, I would rather guarantee that I get the move off rather than try and go for perfect timing and have the Incinerate KO. I baited out the Ho-Oh, which is terrific. I can now convert this into energy for the Palkia. I'm never going to shield this. Brave Bird will do quite a lot. Opponent baits with a Sacred Fire to try and make it to a second move, but they don't get the debuff. They don't get their next move, and now I have an energy advantage, so if they send back in the Dialga, I can apply a lot of pressure here. They send in Palkia, and this is bad. I'm farming up. I'm going for the Aqua Tail bait. We've seen Palkia just shreds Blacephalon. I'm able to get the shield. Opponent goes for the Aqua Tail. I'm low enough that an Aqua Tail I think will actually KO. So I will commit the shield, under tap the Spatial Rend, and if I can get all shields down here, then maybe there's a chance. The Spatial Rend gets no shielded. The Dialga's at half HP. Blacephalon getting torn to shreds by the Dragon Breath. But this is why Mystical Fire is key. Mystical Fire will lower their damage output. They shield the Mystical Fire. Blacephalon takes the Dragon Breaths, incinerates down, and takes the win. We've actually got a good lead on deck in the next match, leading Palkia into Palkia, but I have the best buddy boost active and my opponent does not. So you'll see I do have the higher combat power here, so I'm always going to win charge attack priority, which is a very valuable thing to have in the mirror. As now, if my opponent wants to control switch, they have to commit a shield. They just decide to let it go, they send in Dialga, I immediately hard pivot into the Zacian. Zacian can do quite well here. Opponent will go for the Iron Head. I have a tough choice to make. Do I want to preserve the Zacian? I decide no. It's a bit of a risky call considering that wasn't charge attack priority to the Play Rough. I undertap the Play Rough immediately, and I do get to land that damage. That's very significant damage. I'm going to be able to make Play Rough number 2, and now if my opponent wants to preserve this energy, they're going to have to commit a shield. They will shield once and commit to the farm down, but now it's my turn to go for a 1 shield farm down with Blacephalon. Blacephalon, oh man, I was hoping they'd throw an alignment there, but they instead throw on perfect timing. Iron Head will be shielded in the back. It's Landorus. This is looking really, really tough. I'm going to go for the Mystical Fire bait. It gets the shield. Their attack has now been debuffed. Landorus overfarming. They overfarm too much. They don't know Blacephalon's pacing. I make the Shadow Ball. Get that Landorus out of here. Sniping the Dialga with Palkia. And we get the win. Palkia, just a magnet for these bad leads today. Oh my goodness. Now leading into the OG Dialga. Again, one Dragon Breath, the safe switch into the Zacian. Opponent actually farms past the Iron Head, not throwing their move right away. Play Rough will be shielded up. They will fire off the Iron Head. They give me a free quick attack when they throw that, which is quite nice for me, as they threw on the suboptimal timing. In comes Kyogre. Kyogre trying to get the waterfall down, but Zacian barely able to hang on. Wild Charge deals massive, massive damage, and after I lower my defense, that waterfall damage will pick up the KO. Back in comes Palkia. Palkia farms down before they can make a potential Thunder. Back in comes the Dialga, but I've taken almost no damage on Palkia. I have a ton of energy. I have a shield advantage. This is going great. I can now send in Blacephalon. Blacephalon just cannot get the farm down. Dialga barely able to make a move. Even a resisted Iron Head would do way too much damage. In the back, it's their own Palkia. This is a very risky bait, but I'm going for it. Mystical Fire bait gets the shield. Can I make the Shadow Ball? No, I cannot. And now I've just given them extra energy. Their damage is debuffed, however. This is a 50-50 call. Do they bait? Do they nuke? I shield the bait, and I'm going to get outpaced here by one singular turn. Because this is the Spatial Rend. It KOs, and we lose a heartbreakingly close game. Moving to the next match, Palkia versus Mewtwo. Looking for a little bit of redemption after that last match. Palkia can do quite well here. This is the normal Mewtwo, so I'm far less scared of the Side Strike than if I'm going up against the Shadow. To win the Zeros, Palkia must land a Spatial Rend. However, if Mewtwo shields a Spatial Rend, then it can get a bit uncomfortable. So I will fire off the Spatial Rend. They do shield it, and I think I'm just going to let this go, and then just go for a one-shield farm down with Blacephalon. Because that way, I'm going to give the shield back, but I'm going to have an energy advantage. In comes Blacephalon. Opponent gets greedy over farming. They lose like 2 Side Strikes. They needed to throw the move, but didn't. And now that's so much energy that's lost. They send in Togekiss, and there's no way Togekiss is their best response to a Blacephalon. They call the Mystical Fire bait, but now their charm damage is reduced. Even for being reduced, that is so much damage. In the back is Dialga. They are unable to snipe down with the Dragon Breath. I'm going to get 2 Mystical Fires off. So they're going to be 2 stages debuffed on their attack. And I'm just going to be in a completely commanding position with the Zacian. Zacian enters the field. Opponent realizes there is no longer a win con, and they concede the match. Palkia versus Dialga. This time I'm just going to immediately save switch into the Zacian. If you don't throw the one Dragon Breath, then if they throw the Iron Head right away, it's charge attack priority to the Play Rough, which I honestly ended up liking a little bit better, just due to the fact that even though the Iron Head does a ton of damage, I can guaranteed force a shield or land a Play Rough there. So they end up shielding the Play Rough. I'm going to make another Play Rough before they farm down. I'm not expecting them to shield this one, but this will get some very nice damage. Opponent double shields the Dialga, which is a pretty big surprise. And now I have a choice to make. Do I send in the Palkia? Do I send in Blacephalon? Whatever I send in, I'm going to have to shield. I send in Blacephalon. Blacephalon farming up. Opponent less than optimal with their timing as they fire off the Iron Head. I commit the shield. Going for the Mystical Fire. They catch onto Lugia. And this I can crush with a Shadow Ball. Lugia stops attacking. I don't know if they're lagging there or what's going on, but I can survive those Dragon Tails since they're debuffed. So the Shadow Ball, it looks like they may be lagging a little bit, which is a bit unfortunate. The Shadow Ball connects. They're back as I snipe with the Palkia, and in the back, they have Mewtwo. So I'm basically just going to try and win the game with Palkia, because my Blacephalon has more health than it realistically should do. So I am going to no-shield the Side Strike, and I need to be very precise with the energy management here. I need to shield and farm up and Aqua Tail right before the Side Strike, but if they switch into Dialga like they do, I have to Spatial Rend right away. So the Spatial Rend picks up the KO. In comes the Mewtwo. Mewtwo unable to get the farm down. So the good news is the lag did not impact the outcome there, because regardless of the health on the Blacephalon, 1 HP Palkia takes home the victory. We've got an amazing lead in the final match. Palkia Origin versus Giratina Origin, the battle of the Origins, and they're staying in, which is a massive surprise. This is an incredibly poor matchup for Giratina, so I'm very surprised they're staying in here. They can land the Shadow Ball, and that does do quite a lot, but I can massively overfarm, Aqua Tail, farm down, and basically leave with a Spatial Rend. So I leave with a ton of energy. It does leave them on 1 HP, but the Dragon Breath does get the snipe, and now I'm going to have a Spatial Rend available for whatever they send in here. They're going to send in Dialga. Dialga unable to get the Dragon Breath snipe. I'm going to be able to fire off the Spatial Rend. Spatial Rend will be shielded. I'm going to save the 1 HP Palkia and aggressively pivot into Zacian, since Zacian is just incredibly safe in this meta. Again, going for the Play Rough. Play Rough is going to be no-shielded by the Dialga, and since they no-shielded, if I want to, I can honestly just let the Zacian go. Here, I should have Play Roughed. I overfarmed just for no reason, because now they're at 2 Iron Heads. So by shielding once, I'm going to have to shield twice. So I have not played this endgame particularly well. I'm just going to look to continue to overfarm as much as I possibly can, and they're in Wild Charge range, so I can just go for the Wild Charge. They know I have 2, they're not going to shield. In the back is Lugia, and this game should just be a win. The icing on the cake would definitely be catching the Sky Attack onto my 1 HP Palkia. So I'm going to farm up until when they get the Sky Attack, switch into the Palkia, but I don't get the catch. That's unfortunate. The good news is I should still have this as a win because I can fire off the Wild Charge. This forces them to throw energy here. Because if they don't throw energy right away, I can make another Wild Charge. I go for an Undercharge because I want to show the Blacephalon, but they just keep farming. So unfortunately, final game, I don't get to show the Blacephalon, but we are able to take the win. All in all, I had a massive amount of fun running this team. I would like to clarify, Blacephalon is not a good Master League Pokemon. Blacephalon is a Pokemon that is entirely attack, no HP in defense, and we saw there were multiple situations where its lack of bulk was a massive issue. However, if you're able to play very carefully with it as like a spice pick, you can have success. I think I went 10-2 over the sets that I did, starting at around expert rank and climbing quite a bit with it, so I did have a lot of fun. I'm running some very strong meta teammates with it, and some very bulky meta teammates as well, because, I mean, let's be real, Blacephalon needs the help. So overall, I had very good results. This is not a team or a Pokemon I would recommend building if you're looking to gain Elo. This is mainly just having fun at the end of the season. But man, those Shadow Balls landing, I had an absolute blast. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.